In every genuine transformation, there's a moment often misunderstood, the return of fear not at the beginning, but precisely when alignment feels most real. This fear doesn't signal failure. It marks the friction between your dissolving past self and the quantum version of you beginning to emerge. The misunderstanding happens when people expect alignment to always feel peaceful, serene, and high vibrational. In reality, stepping into a higher timeline often feels disruptive because your biology, particularly your nervous system, is designed to keep you safe based on what is familiar. And what's familiar isn't always what's empowering. The process of quantum shifting isn't about bypassing discomfort. It's about moving through it with presence and clarity. When you begin embodying the reality you visualize, fear will naturally surface, not because you're on the wrong path, but because your body is still catching up to your new frequency. It's not resistance to success, but a survival instinct reacting to unfamiliar energy. This is where most people turn back, mistaking fear for a warning, instead of what it truly is, confirmation that something real is changing. Understanding this pattern transforms how we relate to fear. Rather than seeing it as something to eliminate, we learn to recognize it as data evidence that we are stepping beyond old identity loops. By decoding and staying with that discomfort instead of retreating, we stabilize our alignment and allow our new timeline to crystallize. Quantum transformation is not an escape from fear. It's the practice of staying coherent through it, regulating your emotional state while maintaining your signal. This is the essence of what it means to embody your shift, not momentarily feel good, but sustainably stay connected to the reality you're building. When you initiate a quantum shift, stepping toward a life that reflects your highest potential, the first resistance doesn't usually come from the outside world. It comes from within. The body and subconscious mind, shaped by years of habit, trauma, and emotional patterning, interpret this shift not as evolution, but as a threat. This is a biological misunderstanding. The nervous system doesn't know you're aligning with a higher version of yourself. It only recognizes that something is changing, and change to the subconscious is synonymous with danger. Your nervous system's primary function is survival. It is built to detect and respond to anything that deviates from the known. Even if your current reality is filled with scarcity, stress, or dissatisfaction, it is still familiar and therefore safe in the eyes of the body. So when you start to shift into abundance, peace, or deep emotional freedom, your body may respond with confusion, anxiety, or even panic. You might feel your chest tighten, your breath shorten, your thoughts speed up. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of recalibration. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. This process is often misunderstood because traditional self-help narratives glamorize growth as effortless. But true transformation requires a neurological rewiring, and that is not always comfortable. Your subconscious mind governs approximately 95% of your behavior by the time you reach adulthood. It holds all the scripts you live by, beliefs about your worth, expectations about how life should unfold, emotional reactions that fire automatically. When you try to introduce a new script, the subconscious doesn't automatically accept it. Instead, it asks, are we sure we're safe here? For example, if you've lived most of your life in emotional survival, hypervigilant, guarded, and reactive, then joy, ease, and expansion may feel foreign. Not because they are wrong for you, but because your body's not used to them. Even moments of success can trigger a fear response, a subconscious scan for what might go wrong. This isn't sabotage, it's programming. And like any outdated code, it can be rewritten, but only through conscious awareness and repetition. One of the most powerful things you can do during this phase is to build a new relationship with your physical responses. When your stomach clenches or your throat tightens during a moment of alignment, don't suppress it. Notice it. Breathe into it. Place a hand over your heart and signal to your nervous system that you are not in danger, you are expanding. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This is neural reprogramming in real time. Every time you stay present through the discomfort, instead of collapsing back into old patterns, you train your body to feel safe in a new emotional landscape. Moreover, this regulation work isn't just emotional, it's vibrational. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to the signal you consistently emit. If your energy is fragmented, desiring one thing, but vibrating fear or resistance, it creates incoherence. But when you consciously choose to regulate your response to internal turbulence, you generate coherence. And coherence is magnetic. It draws experiences that match the stability and clarity of your chosen frequency. Joe Dispenza explains this process through the lens of neurobiology and epigenetics. When you think fearful thoughts, your body generates stress hormones as if those fears are actually happening. Conversely, when you choose thoughts that reflect your future vision and pair them with deep emotional engagement, you begin to rewire the emotional baseline your body expects. But this doesn't happen instantly. The body often lags behind the mind. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. In the end, your subconscious and nervous system aren't your enemies. They are simply outdated protectors. They need reassurance, not rejection. By meeting fear with curiosity and discomfort with compassion, you bridge the gap between who you've been and who you're becoming. The goal is not to suppress your instincts, but to retrain them, to show your body over and over that peace is safe, that joy is sustainable, that alignment is not a threat, it's your new home. And when that message begins to root itself in your subconscious, your energy stabilizes. The shift becomes embodied, and the quantum field responds in kind. How to maintain balance. During a quantum shift. Maintaining balance during a quantum shift is not about eliminating fear or achieving a constant state of high vibration. Instead, it's about cultivating emotional coherence, staying centered and conscious as your internal reality evolves. When you begin aligning with your quantum self, the emotional and energetic turbulence you encounter isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a necessary part of the recalibration process. The challenge lies in how you respond to it. This is where the real work of balance begins. The first step to sustaining alignment is emotional regulation, not as a reaction to chaos, but as a daily practice of presence. When your body begins to react, your breath shortens, your heart races, your thoughts spiral, you're entering what's called a dysregulated state. Many people try to push through these moments with forced positivity or suppression, but this only widens the gap between intention and embodiment. Balance is not about force. It's about creating space to observe without identifying with the disruption. A powerful technique is conscious breathwork. Slow, intentional breathing signals to your nervous system that you are safe even if your mind is caught in a story of fear or uncertainty. When triggered, place a hand over your heart, inhale deeply through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, and exhale through your mouth for 6. Do this for a few cycles. This practice pulls your awareness back into your body where real transformation occurs. It's not a fix, it's a foundation. The more frequently you return to this center, the more resilient your system becomes. Awareness of subtle body cues is another key. Balance doesn't collapse in dramatic moments, it wavers in the unnoticed habits. A clenched jaw, shallow breathing, or tight shoulders are early signals that you're shifting into a reactive state. The goal is not to criticize yourself for these reactions, but to intervene with compassion. Each physical cue is an invitation to soften, to recenter, to choose consciousness over conditioning. Consistency plays a vital role in maintaining energetic alignment. The quantum field doesn't require you to be perfect, it responds to stability. If you return to coherence repeatedly, even after brief disruptions, your energy stabilizes over time. This means your focus shouldn't be on chasing a constant high frequency, but on developing emotional fluency, being able to recognize when you're contracting and gently guide yourself back into expansion. This becomes your new baseline, not through willpower, but through repetition. Grounding practices such as mindful movement journaling or nature immersion can also anchor your frequency. These aren't luxuries, they're tools for integration. As you move through emotional waves, your nervous system needs tangible embodied signals that it's safe to relax. Movement allows energy to flow. Writing clarifies mental noise. Time in nature harmonizes your field with coherent natural rhythms. Use these tools not as distractions, but as pathways back to presence. Another layer of balance is internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself in moments of contraction determines whether you spiral deeper into dysregulation or gently recalibrate. When fear arises, don't say, "I shouldn't feel this." Instead say, "It's okay to feel this. I can be with it." This shift in language changes your relationship with discomfort. It becomes something to navigate rather than avoid. Crucially, don't equate emotional stillness with success. True balance includes the entire emotional spectrum. You can feel grief and still be aligned. You can feel anxious and still be on track. Balance doesn't mean eliminating the shadow, it means integrating it. When your presence becomes wide enough to hold both fear and faith, sadness and expansion, you become emotionally sovereign. This sovereignty is magnetic. It tells the quantum field that you're not only capable of receiving the timeline you're calling in, you're ready to hold it. Finally, make devotion your anchor. Maintaining balance isn't a checklist. It's a sacred commitment to remain in alignment with your truth, no matter the external noise. This devotion expresses itself in the smallest moments: how you get out of bed, how you respond to a delay, how you return to breath when no one is watching. These micro-choices are not insignificant. They are entries in the vibrational code that shapes your quantum reality. Balance in this context is not the absence of chaos. It is your capacity to stay open-hearted in the midst of it. When you prioritize regulation over reaction, consistency over perfection, and presence over performance, your alignment deepens. The quantum responds not just to your desire, but to your devotion. And in that devotion, you become the stabilizing force of your own transformation. The concept of the quantum body. The quantum body is not a metaphor, it's a living reality, a bridge between your physical form and the field of infinite potential. Unlike the traditional view of the body as merely a biological machine, the quantum body is seen as a dynamic energy system that responds not only to physical stimuli, but also to intention, emotion, and consciousness. It's not bound by the limits of time or space because its blueprint exists beyond the visible spectrum in the quantum field. When you understand your body as quantum, you begin to recognize that transformation isn't just mental or spiritual. It's cellular. It's embodied. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel sends a biochemical signal throughout your nervous system. Over time, these signals become patterns, neural pathways, and hormonal cycles that condition your body to expect and recreate specific emotional states. This is where most people unconsciously live, not from choice, but from memorized emotional chemistry. If your body is addicted to stress, anxiety, or scarcity, then even when your mind begins to visualize a better reality, your body may not believe it. This creates a disconnect between your conscious desire and your embodied vibration. The quantum body concept resolves this disconnect by teaching you how to harmonize your inner field with the external outcomes you're manifesting. The quantum body isn't just reactive, it's receptive. It can receive new instructions, but those instructions must come from a place of coherence. That means your thoughts, emotions, and physical state must be in energetic agreement. You can't be thinking abundance while feeling tension in your chest and expecting change. You must teach your body to feel the emotions of your desired reality before the physical world reflects it back. This is what Joe Dispenza refers to when he says your body is your unconscious mind. It responds to what you rehearse emotionally, not just what you affirm intellectually. To activate your quantum body, you must move beyond passive visualization and into embodied alignment. This involves three key elements: intentional observation, elevated emotion, and repeated regulation. Intentional observation means becoming the conscious witness of your internal experience without judgment. Elevated emotion means generating feelings such as gratitude, love, or peace that match the vibrational frequency of the life you are choosing. And repeated regulation means consistently calming your nervous system so that your body accepts this new state as normal. When all three are practiced together, your quantum body begins to shift its default settings. It no longer loops in survival mode. It begins to mirror the energy of your future self. But here's the deeper truth: the quantum body already exists within you. It's not something you build from scratch. It's a dormant intelligence waiting to be activated. It's the part of you that knows how to heal, how to realign, how to transcend limitations when given the right conditions. These conditions are not extreme, they're subtle and consistent. A few minutes of deep presence, a decision to stay open in the face of fear, a willingness to soften your breath when you want to contract. These micro-choices communicate to your quantum body that it is safe to evolve. It's important to understand that accessing your quantum body doesn't mean abandoning your physical body. On the contrary, it means honoring it more deeply. Every sensation, every reaction becomes information, a portal into your subconscious conditioning. Instead of fighting symptoms, you listen. Instead of numbing discomfort, you decode it. Pain is no longer a problem to fix, but a message to interpret. Fatigue becomes a request for integration. Anxiety becomes a signal that energy is trying to move and just needs a safe channel. As you begin to embody this awareness, your relationship with your body transforms. It's no longer the barrier between you and your dreams, it becomes the vehicle. And as your body attunes to higher frequencies, it begins to release the chemistry of the past. It stops reacting to old stories and starts responding to the truth of the present. That truth is simple. You are not just a body. You are consciousness inhabiting a frequency-sensitive system. And that system, your quantum body, can be calibrated. Maintaining this calibration isn't about perfection. It's about presence. When you stay consistent with your practices, breathwork, meditation, movement, and self-regulation, your quantum body adapts. It stops resisting change and starts expecting expansion. That's when the external world begins to shift as a reflection of your inner coherence. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. In this way, the quantum body is both the bridge and the destination. It connects your present identity to your future self, not through magic, but through embodied frequency. And once you live from that place, the quantum field no longer feels theoretical. It becomes a lived experience, one breath, one choice, one vibration at a time. Decoding and interleveling darkness during transformation. In the process of spiritual and quantum transformation, one of the most misunderstood yet essential phases is the emergence of inner darkness. This darkness isn't evil or wrong, it's the unseen, unprocessed, and often unloved aspects of the self that surface when you begin aligning with your higher timeline. As you move closer to the frequency of your quantum self, your unconscious shadows activated. Not as sabotage, but as a necessary invitation to integrate what was previously suppressed. Decoding and interleveling this darkness, meaning interpreting its true message and harmonizing it within your energy field, is vital to sustaining genuine transformation. Shadow work begins when your subconscious patterns are no longer hidden beneath distraction or denial. You may start to feel triggered, overwhelmed, or filled with doubt right at the edge of a breakthrough. This isn't regression, it's recalibration. Your system is presenting everything that's misaligned with the new frequency you're anchoring. These old fragments, thoughts of unworthiness, shame, guilt, jealousy arise, not because you're failing, but because your field is purging what no longer resonates. Decoding these patterns means stepping out of judgment and into observation. Every emotional reaction becomes data. It tells you where love was withheld, where trauma was stored, and where healing wants to occur. Interleveling the shadow means you stop fighting your darkness and start listening to it. The anger that erupts is not a flaw, it's a younger version of you trying to protect something sacred. The fear isn't a stop sign, it's a doorway into a part of your psyche that was trained to see expansion as danger. These emotional responses were coded into your nervous system to ensure survival in your earliest environments. But survival is not the same as alignment. And when you begin choosing alignment, those old survival programs flare up because they are being rewritten. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In quantum terms, this means that your external reality will continue to mirror unresolved energetic imprints until they are integrated. Not healed in a romanticized sense, but acknowledged with compassion. Interleveling happens when you hold your shadow with the same presence and gentleness that you offer your light. You create space within your field where nothing has to be hidden, and from that space, true coherence emerges. Practically, this looks like staying with your emotional waves instead of trying to suppress or bypass them. When guilt rises, instead of spiraling into self-criticism, ask, whose voice is this really? When did I first feel this? When shame creeps in, don't push it away, sit with it and explore its origin. Often these emotions stem from early conditioning, unresolved childhood wounds, or inherited belief systems. They've been running in the background like outdated software, influencing how you perceive yourself and how you interact with the world. The moment you bring conscious awareness to them, you begin the process of reprogramming. The more you practice decoding these emotional signals, the less power they have to unconsciously shape your decisions. You stop collapsing into old reactions and begin responding with presence. This shift from reaction to regulation is the essence of emotional sovereignty. And sovereignty is not about controlling emotions, it's about allowing them without being led by them. It's the maturity to witness your shadow, not as something to overcome, but as something to reunite with. From an energetic perspective, the act of integrating shadow elements stabilizes your vibration. When you fragment rejecting parts of yourself, you leak energy. But when you reclaim those fragments, your frequency becomes whole. Wholeness isn't achieved by eliminating the dark, but by bringing light to it. And in doing so, you become magnetic because the quantum field responds most powerfully to coherence, not perfection, but integration. Interleveling is not a one-time event. It's a continual practice of truth. Every new level of expansion will call forth a new layer of shadow to be held. Not because you're broken, but because you are expanding your capacity to embody more of yourself. The goal isn't to eliminate all fear or pain. It's to become the kind of person who can hold them without losing connection to your signal. This is quantum maturity. This is inner leadership. When you welcome your darkness as part of your ascension, you no longer fear the void, you learn to navigate it. And within that void, you find your most authentic power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that integrates. This is how transformation becomes sustainable. This is how your energy field becomes trustworthy, not just to the universe, but to yourself. And once that trust is internalized, you no longer seek safety outside. You carry it with you, encoded in every breath, every choice, every step toward your future self. Specific practice for navigating fear. During a quantum shift. When fear arises in the middle of a quantum shift, the most powerful thing you can do is implement a tangible, repeatable practice that grounds your energy and realigns your signal. This is not about escaping fear, nor is it about ignoring discomfort. It's about staying present with what is and intentionally choosing how you respond. The following practice combines breathwork, somatic awareness, and conscious affirmation to guide your nervous system into coherence and help you embody your chosen frequency even when fear feels overwhelming. Begin by noticing your first physiological signal. Fear often shows up subtly before it becomes loud. It may start as a tight chest shallow, breathing, clenched jaw, or cold hands. Don't wait for it to escalate. As soon as you feel the signal, pause whatever you're doing. Close your eyes if possible, and place one hand over your heart, the other on your lower belly. This physical gesture communicates safety to your body and brings your awareness inward. Now shift your attention to your breath. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 counts. Repeat this cycle at least 5 times. This breath pattern, known as coherent breathing, signals your vagus nerve to calm the body's stress response. As your breath slows, your heart rate stabilizes, and your brain shifts from survival mode into present moment awareness. This is not just relaxation, it is energetic recalibration. Once you've established this slower rhythm, bring your focus to the physical sensation of the fear. Where is it located in your body? Does it have a texture, a temperature, a color? Describe it mentally without labeling it as good or bad. The goal here is somatic witnessing, observing your body's language without judgment. When you name the sensation without attaching to it, you stop the fear from taking over your narrative. It becomes something you're experiencing, not something you are. Next, speak to the fear gently. Use words that affirm safety and expansion. For example, I see you, I feel you, but I am not in danger. We are expanding. It's safe to grow. Speak slowly and intentionally as if you were calming a scared child. These affirmations are not about overriding your emotion, they're about reparenting your nervous system. You're teaching your body to associate unfamiliar sensations with growth rather than threat. At this point, visualize your future self, the version of you who already lives in the reality you're aligning with. See how they move, breathe, speak. Ask yourself, how would this version of me respond to this moment? Then anchor into one small action that matches that frequency. Maybe it's standing taller, relaxing your shoulders, smiling softly, or continuing your task with renewed presence. This action is a quantum vote. It affirms that you're embodying your shift rather than abandoning it. Finish the practice by sealing it with gratitude. Say silently or aloud, Thank you, body, for trying to protect me. Thank you, fear, for showing me where I'm growing. I choose to stay. Gratitude rewires your nervous system by shifting focus from contraction to possibility. It doesn't deny the fear, it alchemizes it. Repeat this practice whenever you feel yourself slipping out of alignment. It only takes a few minutes, but its impact is exponential. Over time, your body will begin to expect safety and expansion. Your nervous system will adapt to your new baseline, and your quantum field will respond to the stability you cultivate not by chance, but by design. Remember, the goal is not perfection, it's presence. Fear may still arise, but with this practice, you no longer collapse into it. You become the observer, the regulator, the anchor of your own transformation. And in doing so, you become magnetic, not because you force your energy, but because you've learned how to hold it. That's the essence of quantum mastery. That's how you stay aligned when it matters most. Real transformation begins not when fear disappears, but when you choose to stay present through it. By regulating your body, observing your patterns, and aligning with your future self, you turn fear into fuel for expansion. This is how quantum shifts become embodied realities. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to breathe it in and commit to practicing it. For more guidance on mastering your energy and stepping into your highest timeline, subscribe to the channel. Your evolution is not a solo journey. Let's keep rising together.